Please welcome one of 17 Magazine's Power Teens, Klick Wineland.
Is my mic on? I don't know if my mic's on. Yeah? Am I good? Is my mic? Oh, there it is. Hi. All right. I always forget. Every time I get up on stage, there's a moment when I'm walking up the stairs that I'm like, I don't want to be doing this. What am I doing here? I should just be in bed. And then I get up, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I like doing this. It's fun. It's fun having all of your attention. I can tell you anything I want. You have to listen to me. So as Liron gave a beautiful introduction, but yes, my name is Klick Wineland. I'm 18 years old. I'm going to be 19 on April 10th. Woo! Yeah! Still not 21. And I have something called cystic fibrosis. So for those of you who don't know, I know there's a lot of brilliant people here, so I won't give you too long of an explanation. But for those of you who don't know, cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease, meaning I was born with it, and it causes an overload of mucus to accumulate in the body, right? So when you have a cold and you get like a runny nose and coughing all the time, imagine the stuff that comes out of your nose is like tar. Right? That's what having CF is like. It is like thick tar in your lungs and your stomach and your pancreas and your liver and your sinuses. And so it slowly starts to cause problems in different organs. The thing that's really interesting about cystic fibrosis is that it is an all-consuming disease. Right? I mean, I do around 3 to 4 hours of breathing treatments a day. I'm on around 75 different medications. I've spent around a quarter of my life in the hospital. I've had almost 35 procedures and surgeries in my life. And when I was born, the life expectancy was 10 years old. Then it moved to 13 years old. Then it was around 18 years old. So I've already passed that. Oh, yeah. Had nothing to do with me. And now it's early 20s or so, right? So it's always being pushed forwards and forwards because of innovation and technology and medicine and all of that. But the burden with cystic fibrosis that it really doesn't get talked about enough is that, how healthy you are and how long you live when you have cystic fibrosis is entirely dependent on how well you take care of yourself, on how much time and energy you put into being healthy and to getting healthy. So it is an incredibly consuming disease. And it's also progressive. So as you get older, it gets worse. No matter how many treatments you're doing and more meds you're doing and more procedures you're doing, you're gonna get sicker. So I'm not actually here to talk all about CF. I just kind of give the run through so that, we get let's get really serious, and then I have all of your attention to all the chatter stopped back there. And when I talk about life expectancy, everyone's like, oh, we should stop talking. But I'm actually not here to depress you all about cystic fibrosis. I'm actually here to talk about how do we change the way that we treat sick people? How do we stop pitying them and we start empowering them? Because my entire life, I have been taught, and it's never consciously, it's never like people choose to teach me this or try and make me feel this way. But the way that our society works, we teach sick people that when they are sick, somehow, some way, they cannot be as happy as normal, healthy people, right? We teach them that their happiness, their contentment in life, their joy in life is tied to how healthy we are. And it's because as a society, we put all of our, we throw all of our happiness, we throw all of our success and our joy into the circumstances of our life, right? It's all about, do you have the right job? Are you in love? Are you with someone who's going to love you back? Are you living your passion? Are you rich? Are you healthy? Right? If you're not all that stuff, there's something wrong. You have reason to be miserable. You have reason to pity yourself, right? So as a society, we put so much stock into the circumstances of our life that it's hard for us to realize that someone can be sick and happy, right? So I'm here to shine some light on the other side of living with an illness, which is the fact that I am sick. I will probably always be sick. And yet I am 100% content and happy with my life. 100%. Someone's really good at whistling over here. Someone's a good job. Nah, thanks, man. So going back to what I said earlier about spending a quarter of my life in the hospital, what does that really look like, right? A quarter of your life in the hospital is a very long time in the hospital. Let me just tell you that. It's around 2 weeks to 3 weeks every 2 or 3 months, right? So that's 4 or 5 stays, we call them tune-ups, in a year. And that's a lot of free time in the hospital. So growing up, I spent weeks and weeks kind of like just chilling in a room, right? While my friends were at school, I was kind of just sitting there, I didn't know what to do with myself. And I remember I was around 7 or 8 years old, and I was like flipping through this magazine, and there's this really beautiful picture of like this artist in like their New York loft apartment, and I'm from LA, by the way, so like New York seemed really cool. It still does, actually, now that I'm here. It's actually cooler than I thought it was. But so here's this artist in this beautiful apartment, right? And I'm sitting there, and I look around my hospital room, and I'm like, I wish I was there. And I had a moment where I was like, but I'm stuck in the hospital. And I thought, well, there's a Target right down the street that has some twinkle lights and some throw pillows. And I have a room. I have furniture. Why don't I make something out of this room? Why don't I deck it out? So me and my nanny decided to completely redo the hospital room. And I don't mean like just put some pictures on the wall. I mean like completely redo the room. We were like moving around the furniture. I was like sweating. My machines were beeping. The nurses were coming in like, what are you doing? You're crazy. And by the end, we had completely transformed the room. And nurses and doctors from all over the hospital came in to see it. And so every time I ended up going into the hospital, I would deck out my hospital room. And I'm not actually telling you this to get props, although like I would like some props because it's a really cool room. Not like clapping props. I mean, like I wish I could show you the rooms because they're cool. But I'm telling you this because it dawned on me, after a year or so of decorating hospital rooms, it dawned on me, why don't other kids do this? Why am I the only one that makes the hospital room beautiful? I started to realize that people who are sick, and nurses and doctors as well, everyone in the medical community, everyone in the healthcare community, gets so stuck in this notion that a hospital room is this cold, sterile, white place where we go to be sick, and that's all that it can be. And we get so stuck in that we cannot see the possibility. We can't see what we can make out of it. We don't see what we can do with it. I started realizing that our lives, in a way, are like this, right? Our lives are like empty hospital rooms. We get so stuck in the idea that, it's supposed to be good or bad, right? If we're sick, well, then it's cold and it's sterile, and we just have to live with it like that. And we don't let ourselves realize, we don't let ourselves see that we can make that hospital room beautiful. We can make our lives into a piece of art. We all have that ability. We all have that capability as human beings to turn these empty hospital rooms, to turn these lives into something really beautiful. And here's the truth of the matter, right? We look at people who are sick and we pity them because we believe that their sickness means their life has to be inherently less joyous than everyone else's. Yeah, shh. What we don't see is that when people suffer, when people feel pain, it's just connecting them to life, right? It's connecting them to everyone else. Because the truth is, no matter what kind of life you're living, no matter what kind of circumstance you're in, you are gonna feel miserable sometimes. You're gonna have nights where you feel like the entire world is closing in on you and it's never gonna be okay again, and you're always gonna be alone, right? And you're gonna have days where you feel so happy to be alive, where you feel joyous and you feel inspired, and you are always gonna feel that. No matter if all of your dreams come true and you're living in that New York loft apartment and, doing whatever you've ever wanted to do and are in love and married and whatnot, you're still going to feel the complexity of life. Because life does not discriminate between circumstance. Life is not going to stop unfolding itself to you just because you're sick or just because your life isn't how you think it's supposed to be. There's still going to be beauty. And I can honestly say a majority of the happiest moments in my life have been when I'm sick in the hospital. Honestly. And think about the implications of that. Because I have lived the kind of life that all of you spend your entire lives running from. I've been sick and dying my entire life. And yet I am so proud of my life. What does that say? No, really, what does that say about the way we're all living our lives? We're waiting to be healthy. We're waiting to be wealthy. We're waiting to find our passion. We're waiting to find our true love before we actually start living, instead of looking at everything that we have, looking at all the pain, looking at all the sadness, looking at all the beauty, and making something with that. That's how innovation happens. Innovation doesn't happen because there's some person who's in a great circumstance and everything's going well and and they just get on a roll and they make something for the world. Innovation happens, art happens because of suffering. And when we clamp down to that suffering, when we teach people who are sick, when you teach little 7-year-old me that because I'm sick, I don't have anything to give to the world, I don't have anything to create, when you pity people who are sick, you take away their power. I was a huge fan of Make-A-Wish, of course, because I was one of the, as a sick kid, you're taught to love Make-A-Wish, and it's your one dream in life is Make-A-Wish. And then a few years down the line, I started thinking about what does the whole concept of Make-A-Wish mean for people like me? Because if you really think about it, it's an outside organization that comes in and says, well, these people need some happiness in their life. They need some cheering up. So then they come and they do, some big adventure, some big room decoration, some big, journey, and then they think, okay, now these people's lives are good. Now these sick kids' lives are decent, now that we've come in and given them something. I love Make-A-Wish, don't get me wrong. But think about what that really means. Instead of teaching people who are sick that they can create a life that they're proud of on their own, we teach them that oh yeah, we can give them one flying lesson and they're good, right? It's disturbing. It's a little disturbing when you really start to think about this. When you really start to think about what we have been teaching people who suffer to feel about their own lives. So how do we change this? How do we stop the conversation from being, we need people to be healthy before they can start living? And how do we turn the conversation into, living with illness, living while being sick, being happy while being sick, right? So as Leon mentioned, my foundation, I should probably talk about that. I get on a roll in other areas and I totally forget the actual thing I was supposed to be talking about. When I was 13, my parents and I decided to start a foundation to help other families living with cystic fibrosis. So the goal of the foundation is to give grants and support to the families and to the parents. Because when kids have CF, they spend a lot of time in the hospital and they spend a lot of time in the intensive care unit on their deathbed. And when you're a parent of a CFer and your kid is dying, you want to be able to be there with them. But a lot of these parents don't have the support that they need to be able to be there with them. They have to go to work. They have to be able to pay their bills. They have to pay their car payments, right? So we cover that for them. We cover their rent, cover their car payments. We help them travel to hospitals if they need it so they can be there with their kids. And the thing that's really important to realize is that I had incredible parents who taught me that I could still live life. I could still do things. I could start a foundation, right? Even though I'm sick. And that foundation wouldn't have happened. The people that we have gotten to help would never have been helped if I was not empowered to live my life while being sick. I wouldn't be able to speak to all of you and to be able to travel and speak. I wouldn't have been able to do and help any of the people that I've helped or decorate any of the rooms that I've decorated if I didn't feel like I could live my life while being sick. So I want to encourage you all, next time you meet someone who's suffering and who's in pain, instead of shutting down, instead of pitying them, why don't you think, I bet their life is so beautiful. Really look at them and think, I bet their life is so complex and beautiful. When you look at me, instead of seeing the poor little happy sick kid up here, see someone who's lived an incredibly complex life, incredibly beautiful life, an incredibly painful life, and who has made something of it. And realize that you have that power as well. Really do. We all get to be a part of this giant human epic story, right? We get to be a part of human history. We get to add to it. We have something to give. If we stop getting so caught up in the circumstance of our life, in how healthy we are, in how, seemingly happy and okay we are on the outside, and we realize it's what we're creating that matters. It's what we're adding to this beautiful story that matters. When we start looking at that, we can change the world, right? So that's it, yeah.
Thank you. No, don't go. We follow the Clarity Project, and we know you have a lot of people who you're huge fans of. And he couldn't be here tonight, but we got a little surprise for you. If you can see the monitor.
Hey, Claire. Sorry I can't be there tonight, but I've heard all about you, and I heard you're the talk of the town. So congratulations, and keep up all the great work. Aloha.
Thank you, man. My dad's gonna love that. My dad and I spent many, many nights listening to Jack Johnson. Well, we're good? All right, bye.
Claire Wineland.